Hello, my dears. Daniela here, and welcome to another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. Now, something that I have been missing about the days that I used to work in the spa, keep in mind, I worked in a medical environment, so I know that this is probably a little bit different than those of you who are working in a day spa, but I'm sure you've experienced this before, is those lunch and learns. Now, in a medical environment, in the spas that we worked in, it was pretty much every single week there would be a new product rep that would come in and they'd bring lunch, which was always great. Who doesn't love that? But they would also be talking to us about their product line. So whether it's a skincare line, whether it's a treatment, whatever it is, they're giving us their pitch or they're educating us on why their offering is the best thing since sliced bread. And for me, I always found it just so interesting to really widen my scope of knowledge on what is available in the market, because regardless of whether we ended up carrying that product line or offering that treatment or whatever it was still so good for me as a provider to know what the heck that treatment was if my clients came in and were asking for it. So that's something as estheticians we need to continually do, because especially if I think about in 2009, the first year that I worked in a medical environment, if I look at the difference between what is happening in med spas and derm offices and plastics offices from 2009 compared to today, it's light years. It's incredible the advancements that we've made just over a decade. So we've got to continue to educate ourselves. We've got to continue to learn what else is out there, because our clients are going to come to us and ask us our opinions. So I thought it would be really cool for us on the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast to have a lunch and learn style episode just every now and again, that we would feature a different skincare line, some different treatment, just companies that are doing really cool things, that are doing something kind of outside the box. And I wanted to kick that off today with a skincare line called Environ. Now, we obviously don't have the lunch part, but you can eat lunch or breakfast, whatever, while you're listening to this. Now, Environ is a physician-dispensed skincare brand, meaning that you need to have a relationship with a physician in order to sell it or bring it into your practice. And if you do not work in a medical environment, I do not want you to tune out right now. This is so, so important for you to understand what is out there on the market and what your clients are being exposed to. So this line, Environ, it was founded by Dr. Des Fernandes, and it's known for their cutting-edge step-up system, which I get into deeper with my guest, Candace Noonan, who's the Director of Education for DermaConcepts, the company that Environ is distributed through. So I hope that you enjoy, and I hope that you learn something new. All right, let's go ahead and play that interview. All right, Candace, I'm so excited to welcome you to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. You are the educator for DermaConcepts, and we're specifically going to be talking about Environ skincare today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate your time.
So let's give our listeners kind of an overview. I wanted to have you on. I wanted to talk about this skincare brand. Number one, I love highlighting really just skincare brands in general. I am a self-proclaimed product junkie. I think like most estheticians.
We should join a club, I'm telling you.
And I actually remember years ago when I was working as a spa director, we were considering to bring in Environ, and for, a few different reasons, it wasn't the right fit at the right time, but I was very impressed with the line. And it's a line that's continued to come up as really having a unique space in the marketplace, not only for their science, but just their approach and philosophy to skincare in general. And before we jump into that, I wanted to just say that I had my first Environ facial just last week. It was so great. My esthetician is a huge lover of the brand. She uses it all herself, and she customized it for me since I'm nursing. So she had to adjust to that, but it was incredible. My skin felt so, so good after.
Well, you look beautiful. So I'm going to only attribute that to the facial that you did.
So let's go ahead. Why don't you give our listeners just a background on Environ, what they're about, what their philosophy is, and then we can kind of jump into this step up approach that you guys have.
Yeah, which is completely unique to us and one of the really key selling points as to why Environ is so unique. But basically, we were founded by a world-renowned plastic surgeon, Dr. Des Fernandes. And this December, we're actually going to be celebrating our 30th year as the brand Environ. But Dr. Des Fernandes actually started making creams in his kitchen for his facial plastic surgery patients 5 years prior to that, because he unfortunately had a very sad experience of having two very young patients die of melanoma. Mm-hmm. And that made him really turn from his reconstructive plastic surgery into cosmetic surgery and focus on how we can protect the skin on a daily basis from the harsh environment that we live in. And he started making these creams with a specialized form of vitamin A. His patients actually started making appointments with him just to get the creams, not even about plastic surgery, because they saw how well it was working. And in 1990, that's when Dr. Des brought his sister on board, and Environ as the brand was born. And what I really love about that story is that from inception, for 30 years, we have focused on one fundamental formulation. Yes, we've had ingredients change and included, but the fundamental formulation has never changed. And I really love that, because that's the principle and the philosophy of what makes a good skincare. Vitamin A, vitamin C, and antioxidants. And that's our foundation, and that's never going to change. And I truly do connect with that, just simply because we're not a fashion fad. This is something that you can really invest in and believe in.
So vitamin A has kind of a reputation. Some people love it. Some people don't love it. There's, we see retinol or retinoids in general. Sometimes it can give you, obagi face, like how in the new derm kit, a lot of people that are using a lot of retinols, they'll have that very red face. So what is it? Yes. How is Environ different than any other retinoid on the market? I know you're a blend, but like, how do you differentiate yourself so that it's not just, over exfoliating or
Absolutely.
too harsh?
Why is it that we're not getting that same result? So when you say Environ is vitamin A based, why are we not seeing people walking around with red, irritated faces? Well, the interesting thing, and I'll give you the long version of the story, is Dr. Des, when he originally started formulating, he knew vitamin A was this all-important ingredient to help protect our skin from the environment. He has since surmised that a skin that's well nourished on vitamin A does not get skin cancer. But his initial work was with retinoic acid, because that was at that point the gold standard in vitamin A treatments. Prescription strength. It was just the assumed best form of vitamin A. But Dr. Des found that exact thing. He found that his clients were using it, but then not using it consistently because their skin got red and irritated and was sensitive to light, and they could only use it 3 or 4 times a week to avoid that typical retinoid reaction. That's what it's called. And so this sort of sent him back to the library, back to his research. And what he found is that there was different formulations of vitamin A that intracellularly do the exact same thing as the prescription retinoic acid, but without any of the topical irritation that's associated with either a retinol, which is the alcohol form, or the retinoic acid, the acid form of it. And so he was the pioneer in the use of vitamin A in its ester forms, retinol palmitate, acetate, and propionate. And this is the reason why we're negating all those negative side effects, is because we're using a more skin-friendly formulation of the vitamin A. So a lot of people will say vitamin A and just assume red, hot, pink, flaky face. But what people have to understand is that vitamin A is just the umbrella term. There's a lot of different categories of vitamin A underneath that: alcohol, acid, and ester. And there's also the plant form. But the plant form and the esters are non-irritating topically. Now, initially, people would think it's not working because it's not irritating topically. But histologically, science has proven no matter which form you put on, you're going to have the same benefits to the actual cell itself But because we're using the skin-friendly forms, we're getting those changes without any irritation topically. And that's really the genius of what Des did.
And forgive me, it's been a little while since I've been talking ingredients, but since you're an educator, I'm sure you'll know. Does the retinol palmitate, doesn't that convert to retinoic acid in the skin? So okay.
Absolutely. And that's the genius about our bodies too, which is so amazing, that no matter which form you put on of vitamin A on your skin, intracellularly at the nucleus, at
converting it
very, very quickly. So in actual fact, the conversion steps are retinol palmitate to retinol, to retinaldehyde, and then to retinoic acid, which is actually how your skin cell actually uses the vitamin A. So a lot of people will say, oh, I use retinaldehyde, and it's only one metabolic step closer to retinoic acid. That's why it's so much better than any other form. But the truth is, no matter what form you put on, your skin is so smart. It converts it through those steps very quickly anyway, whenever it's needed. And that's why we are motivated to use the esters, because we know we're getting the conversion, but we know there's no irritating side effects.
Okay, good. So I remembered something.
You got it.
So let's talk a little bit more about this Step Up program. So when you guys, you have a huge library of SKUs that you're offering, but it's because you have these Step Up programs where you're really essentially taking your clients on a journey, right? So talk a little bit more about that.
Right. So we do have lots of SKUs, but technically we could take that down by 5, because we have 2 ranges that have a 5 steps of the program that you work your way through. And the principle behind it is that even though we're using this skin-friendly form of vitamin A, some skins are still sensitive to therapeutic doses of ingredients, regardless of what the formulation is. So if you start them on low levels, and particularly with vitamin A, this allows the skin to then build up receptor sites and allow more vitamins and vitamin A particularly into the skin. So by introducing the skin at low levels, we can get it used to it. So even the most sensitive skins that typically would never be able to use a vitamin A product can start using this essential ingredient. Then your skin gets used to that level, it builds up the receptor sites, and it's able to accept even more vitamin A. And then at that level, you get your skin used to it, you build up more receptor sites, and then you double again the amount of vitamins that your skin's getting. So it's a way of acclimating your skin so that you don't just go to high dose risk of retinoid reactions. By doing this, we're able to introduce your skin to it slowly until skins that typically would never have been able to tolerate any dose of vitamin A are using maximum permissible amounts of vitamin A in a cosmetic product. And they would never have thought they'd been able to do that. So the Step Up program is a unique way to introduce your skin to therapeutic doses without risking reaction. And that's really the principle behind it.
So is Environ's philosophy, I know that you were mentioning that vitamin A you said vitamin A, vitamin C.
And antioxidants. Yeah.
Just antioxidants in general. So are they all corrective products, or are they having, because when we're looking at, as estheticians, when we're looking at making recommendations for our clients, I mean, I always am like, okay, do I have growth factors? Do I have antioxidants? Do I have my retinoids? Do I have my HAs or whatever? I'm thinking of all these different pieces that I'm trying to put together. So is their philosophy like as long as you have these corrective products of the vitamin A and the antioxidants, you'll be able to address skin texture and tone, fine lines and wrinkles, and you just kind of plug and play the other gaps? Or how is that approach?
Right. So from a fundamental point of view, because you're going to be introducing your skin to vitamin A, that's ultimately what's going to correct all of the above. So there isn't a skin concern or condition that will not be corrected through the use of vitamin A. Science has proven that if you are dry skin, vitamin A will bring your skin back to normal and help it create more natural moisture. If you have an oily skin, it's going to normalize that excessive sebaceous output and calm the sebaceous glands. If you have pigmentation, if you have fine lines and wrinkles, there really isn't a single concern that vitamin A isn't going to scientifically address. So fundamentally, your moisturizers aren't going to be specifically for a skin condition, because every moisturizer is going to address every skin condition. What we're trying to do is make sure that you're able to eventually get to those high levels that's truly going to make a change to your skin. So we rely on vitamin A as the skin corrector. Then vitamin C is really working in synergy with vitamin A. You can sort of think of vitamin A as the foundations of your building, laying down good concrete, putting up the good walls. And vitamin C is the decorator. It brightens up the place. And it also builds collagen. So it's a great corrector, but as well as it's a protector and brightener. And then the antioxidants really are put in there to protect the skin. They themselves may each have individual characteristics that can be therapeutic in changing the skin, but generally we're using the antioxidants purely for its protective purposes against free radical activity that we're exposed to every day upon UV exposure. So that's sort of the principle between that complex that makes up our signature: the vitamin A for the correction, the vitamin C to really brighten and boost, and then the antioxidants to protect. And then you're right, from there we do have products that we can put in should we want a growth factor product or an alpha hydroxy. But your fundamental moisturizer is always going to contain that signature complex, A, C, and antioxidants.
What other antioxidants besides C are you guys putting in there?
A lot. Again, we don't bow to marketing trends. So just because somebody now says coenzyme Q10 is the flavor of the month, we're not all of a sudden going to come out with just a coenzyme Q10. So that's one thing I do have to really drive home. But we do have lots of different antioxidants that are present in the moisturizers and the treatment products, like lycopene, resveratrol, lutein, rosemary leaf extract, witch hazel. So there's a lot of different antioxidants that we use. Vitamin E, because as you know, the skin is many different layers of oil and water. So we need antioxidants that work in the many different layers of the skin, becoming specialists in that particular area. So that's why we don't just use 1 or 2 antioxidants. The lists are extensive. Sometimes 5 up to 10 antioxidants are used in one single product.
But it's a different grouping in the different product offerings, or it's like one proprietary blend that goes into?
Interesting question. Yeah, no, it's different grouping, and that's really according to cosmetic chemistry, because you can have this wish list, and Dr. Days goes to our R&D developer and director Pam and says, I want this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and I want it all in one product. And she's like, man, I'm not a magician here. I'm just cosmetic chemist. So it really does come down to cosmetic chemistry. And sometimes it depends on the formulation of A with C and the antioxidants that dictates what goes in. Some are more complex because of the different formulations. Some are simpler because of the different formulations. So sometimes that comes down to cosmetic chemistry, what can and can't be put into a formula and made stable.
Okay. So what do you say to aestheticians who are very first just learning about your line? Like, what are some of the common questions that come up for them that we can answer?
Right. I think we really did already discuss it, but I know that one of the major things is the differentiation of the different forms of vitamin A. So as a new SE, you really do have to understand that when it comes to cosmetic chemistry, it's not just about the one name, okay, vitamin A or vitamin C. Underneath that, there really is a whole lot of other formulations of these ingredients. Vitamin A, we've spoken about the acid, the alcohol, and the esters, but vitamin C is another example. As L-ascorbic acid, it's inherently unstable, and a product that's formulated with it will only have its 100% efficacy for about 2 weeks, for a month max, and then that L-ascorbic acid loses its efficacy. So the formulation becomes important. So we use ascorbyl tetraisopalutate, which is encapsulated vitamin C, so it's protected from the environment and from oxidation. So those are the things as a new SD you really have to look into. Don't be wooed by, oh, I use vitamin A or I use vitamin C. What's the formulation? How is it working on the skin? Because that's also going to dictate the irritation, how you use it. Is it twice a day? Is it only once a day? And then again, that step-up program, because that allows you to treat even the most sensitive skins to the most advanced anti-aging skins that really can tolerate anything. And you can do that because of the spectrum that's offered with that step-up program.
And you just triggered something when you were talking, but you were talking about vitamin C being a very unstable molecule. Another thing that's really cool about your guys' company is that all of your products are packaged in airless pumps.
Very important. Very, very important. And, it's so sad. You talk to the typical consumer and they're spending, upwards of $500 on a moisturizer or an eye cream that they open up every day in a wide mouth jar. And even if they clever and smart and use a spatula, you're still introducing that packaging to.
I don't use a spatula, and I'm an esthetician, and I know it's like I'll do it like my first 3 times, and then it's like, oh, my daughter's in the bath. I have 2 minutes to put
quick fingers in. I know. So I mean, that's the thing. Even if you've washed your hands, you still have the potential to introduce bacteria. And never mind the bacteria, the exposure of those vitamins or key ingredients to the environment is going to degrade them. And after two, maybe 4 weeks, you can have nothing more than a cream that smells good and feels good, that's doing nothing active on your skin because those ingredients have been degraded because of the exposure to the environment. So packaging is extremely important. Doesn't matter how much money you're spending on it, don't buy it if it's in a wide mouth jar. Always look for either airless pumps or amber dropper bottles, but best case scenario, airless pumps is what we have our product in, is what I even speak to consumers and I say, just look for the airless packaging, because then at least whatever ingredients they do claim to have in the product, are still going to be worth it a couple months into using the products.
So where can people go to learn more about DermaConcepts and Environ skincare?
We have a lot of different outlets. Our website is DermaConcepts.com. A more fun look at it would be on Instagram, DermaConcepts_US. We are on Facebook as well, Environ US. And so there are a few different outlets. As a professional, there is a professional portion of our website that you may want to have a look at. You have to be approved, because we obviously don't want consumers on the professional end of the website. But there's the professional end of the website. And then, of course, reaching out to me, Candace at DermaConcepts.com would also be an absolute pleasure. And then I can point them in the direction that we need to go. We've got an extensive library of over 150 training webinars for our stockists and for new clients that are wanting to learn more about the product range.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Candace. We will include all of those links below this episode. I hope that for those of you listening, you learned something new, got inspired. There's so many great lines on the market out there. It's really important to find a line that connects with you, that aligns with your philosophy on skincare and also provides support. I can't stress that enough. It's so important to have a line that has a director of education, that has those types of things that can really help you to learn and grow. So if you want to keep this conversation going, be sure to head over to the Spa Marketing Made Easy Facebook group, and we will catch you on the next episode.